Valentine tonight? Cool, just checking.
Good evening, everyone. It is April 21st, 2025. This is the regular assembly meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Donna? Here. James? He is not online. Thank you. Jay?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Rob?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 6 assembly members in the chambers and Mr. Valentine is excused. It's now time for a voluntary pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda is item 3, approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Equalization hearing and regular assembly meeting from April 7th, 2025.
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously, I should say. Item 4, amendment and approval of this evening's meeting agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will move forward with the agenda that was presented to us. Okay, we have 2 public hearings this evening. First public hearing is for ordinance 2025-03. This is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2025 budget for known changes. Any public testimony for this regarding this ordinance should be given at this time during this public hearing. Is there anyone interested in the audience that would like to speak to this? And this is for a public hearing for the budget, for a supplemental budget.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I won't.
Just coming right up. And Becky, is there anyone zooming in? I don't see any.
There is no one.
Okay, so it's just who we have in the audience. So I don't see anyone interested in participating in this public hearing, so that public hearing is now closed. It's now time for the second public hearing of this evening. It's a public hearing for ordinance 2025-04. This is an ordinance amending chapter 19, zoning of the Petersburg Municipal Code to establish an overlay zones with municipal zoning regulations and to create a marine industrial overlay zone. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak during this public hearing? Seeing none, that public hearing is now also closed. Item 6, bid awards. There are no bid awards this evening. That brings us to item 7, and that is persons to be heard related to items on today's agenda.
My name is Greg Johnson. I am representing myself, and I would like to speak to the one property that I've asked for it to be able to purchase it, and it's being considered. It's, I'm trying to think of the actual streets it's on. It's,
Augusta.
pardon?
It would be Augusta Street, I believe. Is-
Augusta?
Mhm.
Okay. And it consists of the lots on both sides of an unbuilt road. And the utilities would need to be run on the roads that's directly west of it. They're approximately 200 yards away. So they'd have to be brought down that street and then into Augusta in front, and then that road built and the power extended in there. My background, I started into business in Anchorage in the late 70s and 80s as a developer. I built and developed in Anchorage for several years and then moved operations to Boise, Idaho, and Tri-Cities, Washington, and have been developing land there mostly for residential, but we've done commercial developments as well as residential. in my experience with land, it's important that I'm able to purchase this packet parcels of land in a group so that I can afford to put in the utilities and the street and improvements. The improvements will probably cost at least as much as the land does, if not more. It depends on how tough the bidding is. But it's important to be able to spread that cost over all of the lots. And therefore, I'd ask that you let this be auctioned or purchased in one group, as opposed to selling off one of the lots to a neighbor that is interested in buying it. You know, I understand his desire to buy it. It's behind him, et cetera. I'd be glad to sell the developed lot. He may not want to pay for the improvements to it and that, but I would not lock him out of the lot sale. If he'd like to purchase the lot after I get him developed, that's great. I typically sell about half of the lots to other builders and build approximately half of them myself. That's been my history in the past. But I don't know if other builders want to build spec homes, are willing to, or they may be sold off to individuals that want to hire a builder to build for them. And those lots would be available for sale to individuals as well as builders. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. I might know the answer.
Generally, we don't have a question and answer thing, but thank you for your presentation tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson, and we will address the issue later in
Thank
the
you.
agenda. Thank you. So anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on items related to tonight's agenda?
Hi, I'm Sarah Holmgren, representing myself and my husband. We own Nordic Real Estate LLC, and we purchased the Narrows back in January. And as we started the process of rehabbing the building, one of those parts is the siding. And hopefully you had in your packet, you probably got the pictures that I sent Becky, but it just kind of shows the difficulty in taking care of that particular side of the building. And when I looked into it further, realizing the borough owns that piece of land, I thought it would be prudent of us to be able to have access, full access of it, in order to not only do the upgrades to the building, but also continue to maintain it over the years. There's several hazardous trees on the lot that are leaning over onto the building and dropping a lot of debris onto the roof that I would also like to take down, or have taken down, so that in the future it's not damaging the roof on the building, which will eventually get replaced as well. Thought the easiest path of least resistance was leasing it at this point, because we'd like to save our funds. That's why I didn't petition to buy it, was to save some of our funds to continue rehabbing the building. Right now, there's only 8 tenants and it's a 27-unit building. So there's lots of housing that could come online in the next, hopefully 6 to 8 months. And right now we're just doing replacement, and we've completed 2. And so we're plowing through with our 7 others that we've gutted. And the hope is to finish the interior work this spring, to most of them. And then this summer start on the exterior, which would be siding. And it makes it a lot easier if we can have access on that north side, or excuse me, south side of the building. So hopefully my application was able to answer most, if any, of your questions. I did go ahead and pay a surveyor to find the 2 lot corners of the borough's lot out front, because I honestly wasn't clear where mine ended and where theirs began. And what I discovered was the propane tank is on your land. So regardless of what's decided tonight, that needs to get moved anyway. So it should be moved over to our land if it's not approved. And if it is approved, then we're probably gonna have to relocate it anyway, due to wanting to do a pass-through. So what we're really wanting is a driveway, in essence, in order to be able to get equipment on that side, And we also think it'll probably increase safety. Those trees will be gone. If a fire truck had to get to the building on that side, it should be wide enough for a fire truck to go down that alleyway. So it's for long-term maintenance of the building, but first it will be to put on new siding on the building and also deal with some of the pilings that just need a replacement. And the equipment needed to do that also needs the space in order to get through there. So hopefully.
Okay, thank you
I
for
know
your
you can't ask me any questions, but thank you.
Thank you for your testimony this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on tonight's agenda with views related to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to persons to be heard on items unrelated to today's agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak to that?
Hi, I'm Heather O'Neill. I'm here representing myself. In part, I want to clarify, correct misinformation that was given to you by the assessor at the Board of Equalization meeting. I wanted to attend, I couldn't, I was out fishing and would have Zoomed if I could have, but we were busy. So I'm hopeful that his misinformation was just a mistake. He was confused. I left on March 17th to go fishing. On the 30th, I got this email saying, I confirm that the assessed values have remained unchanged from 2024 to 2025. So that was the first time I feel like there was, would you mind passing me? Of course. That there was, I feel like that was the first time there was some big misunderstandings or not accurate information. So I'd also like to share with you spreadsheets that I've done. The bottom spreadsheet is a spreadsheet that you had already seen because it was part of my appeals packet. I've redone it so that I've included the summer appraisal of the lots behind me, because those values are even much lower than the assessor's values, which went down. All around me, all my neighbors' assessments went down dramatically. I am the only one that had interest in any property that went up. I had 2 pieces of property, they both went up. He said at the Board of Equalization meeting that my property had gone up by $200. It went up by $600. Here is the old spreadsheet and the new one where I have included the appraisal from last summer as well as the same information that I had provided before. This is the 2020, this is the certified 2024 tax roll from the borough showing my land value. But it doesn't jive, it doesn't jive with either him saying it didn't go up, and it doesn't jive with an only $200 increase, because I'm also attaching the 2025 assessment notice that I received. So I'd like to say that my neighbors went down from their 2024 assessment. Some of them even went down in their 2023 assessments. From their 2023 assessments, 2024, they went down. Now they went down dramatically compared to mine. Mine didn't go down, mine went up. I feel like that's very unjust. I feel it's unfair. And I feel that I do deserve a second look, being that the assessor didn't provide truthful information. I think he was confused. I don't think he did it intentionally, but it wasn't $200 that my land was assessed higher at. It was $600, and I think I've given you enough paperwork there to see that. So it is my hope that I will go back to my 2023 assessment for the land or something near that. I can understand, and I had expressed this to the assessor, if he used some kind of an equation for everybody else's land to have dropped in assessment, that maybe mine would be different because I am a different situation. I do have access, I have water, sewer. Everybody has a way to have access, but they don't have a road yet giving them that access. So I said, I understood I wouldn't go down maybe to the same percentage with the same formula, but I do believe I should go down. Everybody else did. And then, of course, I did show you in your packet how much of my land isn't usable, but that isn't really to the heart of it. It's my understanding that if you made your decision based on false information, that you can do an internal Board of Equalization reassessment. It's just internal amongst yourself because the information provided to you was not correct. And I guess you can't ask questions, so I think that's all I have. But I hope you will look through my paperwork, please. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard.
Okay, thank you for your testimony this evening and the information. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on items unrelated to tonight's agenda?
Tom Abbott, representing myself and my wife, and also, in a sense, the radio station. This is for Debbie Thompson. Wanted to say thank you to her for all of the work that she's done for the borough, for the city through the years. All the many years of running the elections, getting all the volunteers there, keeping it all organized, working there her entire time herself. And then also all the public communications she did with the newspaper and with the radio station through all those years as well. But then also a really fun part of everything is all the basketball games that she helped. Kept Joe Bertignoli sort of on topic or something you want to call it. But just a wonderful job that she did for the kids of Petersburg and for the parents to make those basketball games listenable. And also navigating all of it with such humor, knowledge, and grace for all those years. So I just wanted to say thank you to Debbie.
Okay, thank you for your testimony this evening. Anyone else in the audience with views unrelated to tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Boards, commission, and committee reports, there are none. We have one item under item 10, the consent agenda. It's the Virtual Properties LLC lease number 2. They wish to renew their Tidelands lease with the borough through May 15th, 2030 at an annual rate of $6,810. I would entertain a motion to approve that lease agreement.
So move.
Second. Motion been made by member Lynn, seconded by member Stanton Gregor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So we will move forward with extending that lease. Report of other officers, is the mayor's report. There's not much on it. The Petersburg Borough is accepting letters of interest from citizens who wish to serve the community by filling the vacant seat on the Parks and Recreation Board. We have an applicant for that this evening, so don't have to say who you need to mail the information to. That position will be filled. And I would personally like to thank Clerk Thompson for all the years that she's given the city and the borough, and personally thank her for the help and the direction she's given me going through this 15 years learning curve or whatever it was. But thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
That's it for the mayor's report. I'll turn it over to the manager for his report.
Thank you, sir. Parks and Rec have swimming lessons coming up. Please contact our front desk at 907-772-3392 to register. Thank you to Petersburg Rotary and community volunteers for helping Parks and Rec with our annual Sandy Beach cleanup event. The SEPA shutdown is scheduled for June 10th through the 9th. Power and Light customers are encouraged to plan for conservation of energy during the June billing period. And our annual FERC safety inspection at Crystal Lake Dam is scheduled for July 15th. SEPA has performed their annual snow surveys in the Tyee and Swan Lake watersheds, and while the snowpack is less than normal, the water level in both lakes is much higher for this time of year. So we're not sure what happened other than just, I guess, a lot of rain. We had haircuts last week for the residents of assisted living. They're looking for some volunteers to practice for future haircuts. So if anybody wants to put their name in the hat, go for it. Easter dinner on Sunday at assisted living was the traditional honey glazed ham, cheesy hash brown casserole, garlic green beans, dinner roll, and deviled eggs. The Easter egg hunt and the Easter party was on Friday. Spring maintenance is in full swing at the harbor. Harbor crew is asking that customers make sure they remove personal items from the finger floats prior to departure from their stall. Launch permits are available. Annual renewal is June 1st. And our tour ship schedule is firmed up at 96 stops, with the first tour stop on April 25th. We have one new vessel, the American Constitution, 269 feet, 150 passengers, and 2 lighter stops this year, down from 12 in 2024. Harbor staff are working with PEDC and PND on the Scow Bay Boatyard engineering discussions. And the first salmon fry were spotted in the harbor on April 15th, and the Sandhill cranes just flew over, so spring is here. Streets crew demolished an unsafe set of concrete steps at Hungry Point and installed a crushed rock pedestrian ramp down to the beach in its place. And spring sand cleanup continues. We are also washing streets and sidewalks to get things spruced up for the busy season, street grading as weather permits. Director Cotta will be attending the Alaska Municipal League's Infrastructure Development Symposium in Anchorage this week. And Assistant Director Morrell put together an online auction for the 3 surplus Power and Light trucks. The auction is now live on the public surplus website with a closing date of May 5th. Central Southeast Surveyors has been engaged to provide an updated survey of our landfill and Baylor site. The new survey will help us with our upcoming landfill permit renewal and will also provide a useful framework for planning future projects, including the biosolids disposal expansion, a proposed drop-off area, and proposed construction and demolition landfill cell. CSWA Chair Cotta continues to work with Southeast Conference and the Respect Engineering firm on the Regional Municipal Solid Waste Management Planning Study. Past studies are being compiled and analyzed, and a community waste questionnaire is being prepared for distribution to all Southeast communities. The borough's annual household hazardous waste event is set for the weekend of May 31st through June 1st. We'll be advertising this event in the local newspaper, Facebook, and on the borough's website. With assistance from the street crew, the water department has been attempting to locate a water leak in the general area of Oslog and Lake Streets. There appears to be a minor leak, but we're hoping to find the source before it grows any larger. We may end up bringing in Alaska Rural Water to investigate if we are unable to isolate the leak soon. Chris Cotta has been working with the borough's federal lobbyist on a request for a $12 million grant to fund the wastewater plant disinfectant project. And Supervisor Justin Haley, is getting the mobile restrooms ready for seasonal installation in the Muni parking lot. Aaron and Kobe recently attended the Southeast Regional EMS Symposium with other volunteers and Dr. Hess from PMC. Kobe became a BLS instructor, and it was a great experience for everyone involved. Ryan recently attended the Fire Investigator Conference and received credentials needed to keep his investigator certification. Wow, sorry, folks. State fire marshals visited Petersburg and requested assistance from the fire department on several reviews. And Aaron recently attended the State Emergency Managers Conference and received training on the state's new emergency management qualification system. We also learned that at the conference that many FEMA grant programs that the borough has received in the past were terminated due to federal cuts. And the fire turnout gear that was approved for purchase from the Title III forest receipts has been purchased. So we're moving forward with that. Maintenance on the SCBA bottle fleet was completed. However, these repairs are temporary and total replacement will be required in FY 2027. That is a grant that we've applied for and hopefully we'll get. And several of the staff and I we're currently negotiating with IBEW on our the CDL agreement and wages for the next 2 years. And that's it, unless there's questions.
Questions of the manager this evening on his report? Okay, thank you, Manager Giesbrecht.
Sir.
That brings us on to unfinished business. First item there is ordinance 2025-03. This is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2025 budget for known changes. It's the second reading, and we just have the public hearing on this ordinance. The 2025 budget policy document states that the borough will designate 50% of the previous year's annual general fund surplus to the property development fund for the purpose of financing major capital maintenance and repairs in any year where the general fund undesignated fund balance is within the target range of estimated policy levels. This ordinance, if approved, will transfer $292,314 from the general fund to the property development fund. Finance Director requests the Assembly amend this ordinance this evening to accept a bond revenue to an amount of $3,577,800. And that will go into Fund 762. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its second reading.
I make a motion, recommendation to add to the FY 25 Borough Supplement. Do a main motion, make a motion to adjust the FY 2025 budget for known changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Member Marsh.
Thank you. Now I make a recommendation to add to the FY 25 Borough Supplemental Budget a revenue and expense line item for $3,557,857 into Fund 762 Public School Projects. These bond proceeds were received by the borough on April 8th, 2025 from the Alaska Municipal Bond Bank. These funds will be used for purposes set out in Ordinance 2024-12 that was approved by the Borough Assembly and ratified at a public election in 2024.
Okay, is there a second to this amendment?
Second.
Motion been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Lynn to add this fund at the request of the Borough Finance Director. So is there any discussion on this amendment? Clerk, call the roll.
Scott,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Bob, Rob,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to the main motion as amended. Is there any discussion? None. Will the clerk call the roll?
Jay,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Donna, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 2025-03 passes unanimously in its second reading. That brings us to ordinance 2025-04. This is an ordinance amending chapter 19. This is zoning of the Petersburg Municipal Code to establish overlay zones within municipal zoning regulations and to create a marine industrial overlay zone. This is the second reading. I would entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its second reading.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-04 as written.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Newman, seconded by Member Marsh. Any discussion? Member Marsh,
Could I make an amendment to this motion?
just
Is
make
that-
a motion to amend.
Okay, could I make a motion to amend? And that is, I'd like to amend paragraph D, item 1, that has to do with the caretaker quarters. And the language as written shows it as 800 square feet. I would like to amend that to say that the caretaker quarters can be no larger than 400 square feet. And my rationale for that is to keep it small. This is a marine industrial area. It's not B&B. It's not come stay at my little shed for 3 weeks while you work on my boat. It's a caretaker. That was my rationale for there. And the borough itself has some tiny homes on the borough website that would fit this description. So that's where I recommend this be approved.
Okay, is there a second to this amendment to reduce the square footage of a caretaker's facility from 800 to 400 square feet? Okay, seeing none, that amendment fails. Any other discussion or proposed amendments on ordinance 2025-04? Member Stan Gregor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No proposed changes, just thanks to the admin staff who's put a lot of work in, again, at assembly direction to create this as we navigated things the last couple of years. So just, I'll be voting for this and appreciate the effort to get this before us. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 2025-04 passes unanimously in its second reading. That brings us on to new business. First item there is a resolution 2025-08. A resolution approving the real property improvement and conveyance of borough-owned land described as lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, block 304, and lots 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 of block 305 in the Airport Addition subdivision, according to plat 77-2 recorded on March 1st, 1977. Six of which will be conveyed to the Tlingit-Haida Regional Housing Authority, and 5 which will stay in the borough ownership for the purpose of expanding the airport subdivision and authorizing the borough manager to sign conveyance documents. And I believe that number has changed. It's up to 22 lots now, I believe. So I would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution. So what's going to end up happening is Tlingit-Haida now is asking for 11 more lots for a total of 22. 13 lots will be owned by them and 9 lots will be retained by the borough. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Don't move.
Second. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution 2025-08 passes unanimously. I'm excited to see that move forward. Next item is the resolution also 2025-03 amended. A resolution authorizing temporary lease of borough-owned tidelands at the Scow Bay turnaround to Andra Rutherford. At the March 3rd, 2025 meeting, the Assembly approved Resolution 2025-03 authorizing a temporary tidelands lease permit to Andy Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford requests the annual lease rate be prorated to reflect the actual land use. An amendment to this resolution is attached for Assembly approval. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution amendment.
I make a motion to approve the amended resolution 2025-03 as written.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Member Newman made the motion and Member Marsh seconded it. Any discussion? Member Marsh?
So rather than, because if I remember correctly, his project was only going to take 3 months. So this would essentially prorate it for 3 months rather than him paying the annual lease for 12, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's what this
Okay.
amendment is.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Donna,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Thank you.
The amended 2025-03 resolution passed unanimously. Next item, under new business, item C, fuel adjustment charge request for 2025. Per municipal code 14-.16.720 rates, fuel and purchase power adjustment charge. The Assembly has the discretion to implement a fuel adjustment charge to all kilowatt hours sold in the billing period that includes the annual SEPA maintenance shutdown and the resulting 10-day diesel plant run by our electric utility. Utility Director Hagerman is requesting the fuel adjustment charge be implemented for the billing period between May 27th and June 27th, 2025. That's the SEPA maintenance period, and it's scheduled for June 10th to the 19th of this year. The fuel adjustment charge will appear on the July 2025 electric bill. I'd entertain a motion to approve this request.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Lind. Any discussion? Member
do.
Marsh.
So I was looking through Director Hageman's adjustment formulas here. I have a question for Director Hageman. Where did the 13.5 come up with? Where'd you come up with that?
Push it down. There you go.
Can you hear me now? So the 13.5 is actually, it's a variable that is equal to the amount of BTUs that we can get from a gallon of fuel.
Okay, thank you. I figured it had something important to factor in the calculation there. The rest of it, I was able to follow your rationale there. But thank you for answering. that.
Actually, that was wrong. It's the amount of kilowatt hours we can get.
Kilowatt. Okay. All righty. Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bob,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on today's agenda, item D, Nordic Real Estate has applied to lease Lot 4A, Skylark 2 subdivision, Plat 90-14, parcel ID number 01-010-737. On April 8th, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and recommends the Borough Assembly approve the lease. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this lease.
Mayor, I would move to approve this lease application to be processed by direct sale to the applicant.
Application to lease
Direct lease.
only, I believe.
Yeah. Did I say that right?
I believe you stated that you'd like to make a direct sale to the applicant.
Oh, be processed by direct lease to the applicant. I apologize if I said that inaccurately. My bad. Slipping.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second have been made on this Nordic real estate lease application. Any discussion? Member Stan Gregor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. The lease application is thorough. It checks all the boxes for a direct lease. No one else was showing up today wanting to be a part of that, so I see no compelling reason to move to a public auction. So I think this is the case where it makes very much sense to process it by direct lease to Nordic Real Estate. That's all.
Okay, any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Scott,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the lease agreement will move forward. Item E, Greg and Heidi Johnson land purchase application. Greg and Heidi Johnson submitted an application to purchase borough-owned lots 6 through 10, block 255, northeast subdivision, and lots 2 through 5, scenic view subdivision. That part is unrecorded. The Johnsons request that all 9 lots are offered for sale as a block, and understand lots 2 to 5 will need to go through the subdivision process and most likely be rezoned before they are ready for public sale. The Planning Commission held a public hearing regarding the application to purchase on March 11th, 2025. The motion to recommend approval of the sale failed due to a lack of a second. Borough Code, Section 16.12.080E states that the Assembly shall determine whether an application shall move forward in the application process or be denied. If the application is to move forward, the Assembly shall schedule a public sale or exempt the application from public sale. If the application is exempted from public sale, the Assembly may authorize the Borough Manager to negotiate the sale with the applicant, the final terms of which are subject to the Assembly's approval. Excuse me, I'd entertain a motion to move forward with this land purchase application.
make a motion to move forward to proceed with the land sale to Greg and Heidi Johnson and direct the borough manager to negotiate the sale with the applicant.
Second that.
Motion been made by member Marsh, seconded by member Newman. Discussion. Member Newman.
First off, I would like to say that as assembly members, we're tasked with the social obligation or responsibility to look at things objectively and not subjectively. That being the case, when I first looked at the two proposals regarding the lots for sale by the borough, one from Greg Johnson and the other from David Mazzella, that it appears that the planning commission has failed to give due diligence on their decision regarding these lots and these proposals during their meeting. They never gave a second to the motion for the Johnson proposal or application and continued to discuss the issue regarding the Johnsons after a second to the motion had not been made. Then they approved the Mazzella application. From the outside looking in, this reeks of subjectivity and favoritism. The Johnsons have an airtight proposal and application. This is everything within the needs that were stated in the housing needs assessment that was done a couple of years ago at the direction of the assembly. Here we have a person that is going to develop infrastructure and has a three-prong approach for lots, houses, rentals, fulfilling three different aspects of the housing needs that was determined by the housing needs assessment. We have no substantive or verifiable reason to deny his application, and if we do, we are opening ourselves up for a legal challenge.
Any other discussion? Member Marsh.
Yes, I wholeheartly concur with Member Newman's comments. I actually watched the Planning Commission meeting on from the March 11th, 2025 meeting twice today, just to be sure I actually saw what I thought I saw and heard. Because there was no second for this proposal, but yet 4 of the commissioners proceeded to discuss it as if there had been a second. I was stunned. Did not make sense. And so we have someone who has verifiably demonstrated that this couple can develop land and has put some teeth behind it and some forward momentum. Also, another thing I want to point out is that this application was originally presented to the borough on December 11, 2024, and the one that is up next for discussion, the Mazzella application, was December 13th, 2024. So if we were just going to go strictly first come, first serve, the Johnson application came in first. I am a little bit perplexed, again, how that all came to be, but I am going to vote in favor that this application move forward. And like I stated in the motion, that it is, would be negotiated with the borough manager for the sale price.
Any other discussion? Member Lynn.
Yeah, going forward with this, I looked at the application and it says that it will be initiated sometime this summer and then proceed forward. If in fact we approve this, one of the things I think that we need to see is a timeline and a plan of how these lands are going to be developed, because if we sell them and they sit there, it doesn't do anybody any good. So I think as part of the process that there needs to be some kind of a discussion, maybe related to what we're asking the manager to do in part of these negotiations. Thank you.
You know, I can, I think I will vote in favor of this. I think it'll be good for the community. And Member Lynn's concerns, this does have to come back to the assembly after the manager would negotiate this if that moves forward with Greg and Heidi Johnson. So, and he did put a time frame in there, but you know, I don't know if it has to be rezoned and platted before he can move forward or not. So that will be discussed with the manager if this moves forward, I would believe. So any other discussion? Member Stan Gregor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also checked out some of the stuff from the planning and zoning meeting. There was members of the community who were there to speak against it and then largely neighbors. I also was disappointed that the planning and zoning chose not to take up the issue, then proceed to talk about it. I thought it was procedurally poor. That said, though, I would like to see the planning and zoning, I mean this with respect to the board, take up that issue and give it a solid yea or nay. I think the members of the community who were interested in this and made it a point to carve out time of their day at planning and zoning deserve that, and let it go through its due process, because it did not. I'm not sure if this will have any support, but I would, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, so Becky, line me out if I'm getting it wrong. I guess I would move to amend this to refer this issue back to planning and zoning for, to be taken up as an action item. can do it
So
that
I
way.
take that as a motion to postpone our position on this until it goes back to the planning. and
Until
zoning?
planning and zoning gives us a recommendation. I feel it's their job, I guess.
Is there a second to that motion? Seeing none, that motion fails. I could appreciate what Member Stanton Gregor said, and I would have liked to have seen a firm decision made by planning and zoning, but for whatever reason they didn't, and sometimes meetings get away from you and you just overlook things, so. But I think now it's up to us to make a decision on what we're gonna do here with this application. Member Schwartz.
Yeah, I hear Jay loud and clear. I didn't watch the meeting. I've been out of town with medical things, but if they felt strongly about it, they could have come to this meeting too and put their input in with items related to the agenda. I didn't hear any. So with that being said, I can see both sides of this, but I'll be voting in favor.
Member Stanton Gregor.
It's more of a procedural clarifier, I guess, Mr. Mayor, so it sounds like the will of the assembly is to approve this, so it goes. It does leave us in a bit of a conundrum, though, because the next action item is Mr. Mazzella applied for a land purchase, which is one of those, and which was approved by planning and zoning. So if we vote for this, that more or less negates his application, then yes?
Well, I guess if we vote for this to move forward and not, Mr. Mazzella's application is kind of a moot point.
But it seems like, I'm
Yeah.
clarifying if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, and I had this discussion with the clerk and, the clerks today, so we have two now, which we're lucky. And asked why it was in this order. And it, it's just how it happened, just how it got on the agenda. I thought it might have been cleaner if, Mr. Mazzella's would have been first, and then if it would have failed, but anyway, either way, I think it's gonna, iron itself out, because, Mr. Johnson did say that, he would potentially sell that land to, David Mazzella after it was developed, so.
I understand the point. I'm just noticing that planning and zoning did recommend that one, but
Right.
that's the will of the assembly.
Kind of confusing, but we have dealt with more confusing things than this. So any other discussion on this land purchase application? And this is to, approve the application and have the borough manager negotiate the sale of these, parcels with, Greg and Heidi Johnson. So that's what we're voting on. And if there's no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Donna,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jay,
Nope.
Scott,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
Rob,
Yes.
Okay, the land purchase application passes with a 5-1 vote with Member Stanton Gregor opposed. And that brings us on to item F, and I don't know how we approach this, but I'd entertain a motion to approve this land purchase application by Mr. Mazzella. And if there's no motion or a second, then it just dies. Seeing no motion or a second, item F doesn't get heard. And I think it makes sense in this case because of the agenda item prior to this. We made a decision to sell a piece of property that, Mr. Mazzella has, requested. Just for the people listening, I hope that clarified it. Next item, item G. Letter of interest for Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Christine Lynn has submitted a letter of interest to serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Without any objection from the Assembly, I would like to appoint her to that position until the 2025 election. I don't see any opposition, so thank you, Christine, for putting your name in. All right, item H, budget work session. Finance Director Tao requests that the Assembly choose a date and time for a budget work session. The first reading of the budget will be at the May 5th Assembly meeting. The following dates were suggested. Monday, April 28th, either noon or 5 p.m. Thursday, May 1st, either noon or 5 p.m. And just for a little input here, Member Valentine says May 1st works best for him. That would also work best for me. So any suggestions by the Assembly?
I'll either be able to make it or I will not based on my work. So you guys feel free to schedule it and I'll either be there or I will not. So
Okay.
have at it.
Yeah. Does, the May 1st day work for the Assembly? I see nods of agreement. What would be the preferred time? 5 p.m.? Okay, then we could have a full work day and then do our second job. Okay, so we will, I think we decided to have the work session Thursday, May 1st at 5 p.m. And I've got a question. I imagine they're open to the public, but it's just a work session between the Assembly and the Finance Department. Okay. Communications, we have many communications listed on today's agenda. We have made a habit not to read those communications. We feel that people could come and read them themselves, or if an Assembly member wants to pick out a specific one and read it, you can, but they're on our agenda or on our borough website, so feel free to look them over. Item 17, Assembly discussion items, Assembly member comments. Are there any Assembly member comments today? Being none. Recognitions. Are there any Assembly members with recognitions? Member Stanton Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I kind of wanted to briefly follow suit of Mr. Abbott and thank Debbie Thompson for everything. When I was first elected to the Assembly, I was 37 years old and had one toddler and another on the way. There's many things that have been said and can be said about Debbie, so I'll be brief. I was immediately and consistently impressed with Debbie's integrity, just general decency as a human, high level of professionalism, and her patience with both of my kids running roughshod in her office at different times and different ages. She's also good with kids, go figure. She's good at pretty much everything she does. I'm going to miss you, Debbie, and I'm definitely a better person for having spent the last decade working with you. I am very grateful. Thank you so much for being you.
Any other recognitions this evening? Seeing none, excuse me, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So I have to play it that it doesn't matter when something